Hey, I know there's a lot of other places you could be, but I think being here and hopefully you learn a little bit about myself, a little bit about the company. I'm going to spend a little bit of time explaining what SS&C, what it stands for, what we do, how we do it, why we do it, where we're going. I'm also going to give you a little bit of background about myself. I'll start by saying I graduated from USI. I'm from Evansville. I grew up on the east side of town, and instead of going to IU, Purdue, Ball State, I chose USI. And I chose USI for a lot of reasons, but the accounting program. And then within the accounting program, it led me to various internships. So I did an internship at Mead Johnson at the time, now it's called RB. I did an internship at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I also did a couple other side jobs, internships, at Berry Plastics. But long story short, I worked a lot throughout school. Instead of transferring to another university, I stayed here at USI, and I will say this, that I think USI prepared me better than any other university. I've competed with people in my career, whether it be a direct colleague or a competitor, that I've gone through programs that may be a little bit highly looked upon, whether it be IU or Ivy League schools. I think USI stacks up as far as your education, what you're getting right now. I think you're setting yourself up for success by going through stuff like Beta Alpha Psi, but also networking, and ultimately it's up to you whenever you get out in the career. It doesn't matter what necessarily, if you graduate from USI, U of V, IU, it's up to you to be successful, right? And fortunately, I've had a lot of good mentors along the way, and I'll touch on that a little bit later, but have got to where I'm at. So I'm a vice president of SS&C and general manager of the Evansville office. So I started with SS&C 8 years ago, a little over 8 years ago. The company is headquartered in Connecticut, Windsor, Connecticut. And so I started in the headquarters in 2010. I spent a little time in New York City, in Manhattan, and lived there for about 4 months. And then I came to Evansville to start the office. So we started the office back in March of 2011. We hired our first employee in April, our second employee in May, and then fast forward, and we have close to 220 employees now here in Evansville, servicing clients locally, regionally, and then also across the globe. One of our largest clients is in Europe. So another thing, as far as it goes to show you, it doesn't matter necessarily where you're at. You can be successful. We've been very successful here in Evansville, servicing clients, again, across the globe with the skill sets that we've been able to obtain from the local and regional universities. Background. So as I said earlier, I graduated from USI. Prior to that, I went to Memorial, grew up on the east side. Always thought I wanted to do something in business. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I just knew business was intriguing. I had a couple family members, one that was a CPA, that it was Gaither Rutherford at the time, that got acquired by BKD. Long story short, he was always taking his family on really nice vacations, driving nice cars. I was like, I want that. I think I could do that. So I talked to him. He was a good mentor of mine. And so when I came to USI, I just decided business administration at first, because I didn't know if accounting was what I really wanted to do. And then took a couple accounting classes. One I took in high school, and then I took a couple entry-level accounting classes here at USI, and it came somewhat easy, and it just clicked. And the other thing that I learned from my first internship at Berry Plastics was my manager there at the time said, the language of business is accounting. You can do sales, you can do whatever you want, but the language of business is accounting. So if you can read a balance sheet, an income statement, and you can actually convey what that means, that's powerful. And so I was doing a sales internship at Berry at the time. So he kind of focused me in on, get your accounting, you can always do sales later. So I thought that was great advice, and so I stuck with accounting. Later, had an opportunity to do an internship at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and at the time they weren't recruiting on campus, and I don't know if they are yet anymore, but I think at one time Big Four had come a little bit. Long story short, how I got connected with PwC was I was working at a hotel on the east side, just the front desk, in between interning at Berry. I had a couple different jobs, and this was one job I was working at night, and a partner at PwC came in, and I was checking him in, and we just struck up a conversation, and he was asking me what I was doing. I told him I was an accounting student at the local university, and he said, "How are you? Do you like it?" I said, "Yes." And small, talk led to one question that, fortunately, it was earlier in the semester, but he asked me about how are you doing in intermediate accounting. And I said, right now I got an A. And so I think I later got a B in the class, but I had an A at the time. And so he said, well, have you heard much about PwC? And I said, of course, yes, Big Four accounting. And he said, how about giving me your resume and we'll see about doing an internship. And I said, beautiful. So that night I fired off my resume to him. He put me in contact with the head of HR in Indianapolis, and I got the internship. So fast forward, did the internship there. It was a busy season internship. And then I was in my last month at PwC, and I got a call from Meade Johnson. And the only reason why I got a call from Meade Johnson was Janet Johnson of Career Service at the time. She was blasting my resume out because I went to Career Services when I was a sophomore and updated my resume maybe when I was a junior. And so random call from Meade Johnson saying, hey, we'd like to interview you for an internship. And I had no basis of how they got my resume other than I later found out that Janet had forwarded it on. And did a phone interview because I was traveling with PwC and got that. So I came back and I did a Sarbanes-Oxley internship for about a year until I graduated. And then I had a decision to make whether I wanted to go into private or if I wanted to do public. And many of you are probably going through that same decision or at least thinking about it. And I decided to go in the public world. So I went to PwC for 3 busy seasons, which was plenty. I probably could have got away with 2. But I did 3 busy seasons. And after I completed my 3rd busy season, Meade Johnson called me back and said, hey, we got this job. It's a perfect job for you. And you're not going to work the hours that you're working at PwC. And again, literally, it was like the day after busy season. So they planned it perfectly. And they said, and we'll relocate you home and all that good stuff. And so that worked out. I joined Meade Johnson. Fast forward 2 years at Meade Johnson. I enjoyed the experience there. I just like to do a lot of things and move a lot faster than what they had offered. Long story short, I met the founder of SS&C at a wedding. And long story short there, he was saying he wanted to have an office in Evansville.